Hello, good day, greetings, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining True Hope Cast, the official podcast of True Hope Canada. True Hope Cast takes a deep dive into mental health's many physiological and psychological aspects. This is the show for you if you're looking for motivation, inspiration, knowledge, and solutions. That's what we are all about here at True Hope Canada. True Hope Canada is a mind and body-based supplement company dedicated first and foremost to promoting brain and body health through non-invasive nutritional means. For more information about us, you can visit truehopecanada.com. Today, I welcome Renaye Thornborrow to the show. Now, Renaye is a child life coaching expert and is leading a worldwide movement to bring life coaching and mindset skills to kids. Since 2013, her company has certified hundreds of wisdom coaches in over 30 countries, helping coaches create a business they love as a life coach for kids while empowering children all around the world. Coaches use her powerful story-based curriculum to help children build mindset skills for self-esteem, confidence, self-leadership, and resilience so that kids are confident and prepared to thrive within life. Today, we're going to be discussing youth, mental health, and self-leadership. Enjoy the show. All right, Renaye, welcome to True Hope Cast. Thank you so much for being with me, for being with us today. How are you? What is going well?
Oh, great to be here. Thanks so much for letting me be here and share with your audience about the powerful impact that life coaching for kids is having on children and families around the world.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm super excited to learn more about that specifically and what that entails. So why don't you, just as an introduction, let us know who you are and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. So I'm Renaye Thornborrow. I'm the founder and CEO of Adventures in Wisdom. And for, well over 10 years, I've been leading a movement to bring life coaching and personal development to children. And for the past 10 years, we've certified many hundreds of coaches in over 30 countries to become what we call certified wisdom coaches. So they're helping kids develop mindset skills for self-esteem, resilience, confidence, self-leadership, so they can handle those ups and downs of growing up and just go for it in life and be who they were meant to be in the world. And it's been just so amazing to support our coaches in creating a business that they love while having such a positive impact in the world.
What is a wisdom coach?
Yeah, so a wisdom coach is someone who is certified to use our story-based curriculum to help children develop these mindset skills. We really focus on kids between the ages of 6 through 12. So we want to reach them while they're early, help them develop these mindset skills they can use throughout middle school, high school, and even into their adult years. And what makes the curriculum so unique is that I use coaching stories and activities and experiential activities to support children in developing these mindset skills. And the curriculum, the way it guides our coaches and really provides engagement and safe space for our for children to be able to learn these skills is just having such a positive impact on children.
Well, it sounds fantastic. I mean, I think coaching in general is very, very important. I think we get to a certain age in our lives, like maybe our late teens and then into our young adult years where we believe that we know everything and we don't need to develop and we don't need to, further our progress. Like classic teenager ideas is that, I've got an answer for everything and, I don't need to listen to my parents or listen to anybody. So it's interesting. I think the whole personal development, whole realm is vital to our evolution as individuals, and I think it's just beautiful that we can go back to such early ages to develop these skills or redevelop these skills. And just for you, why child specific coaching? This is obviously hasn't just been born overnight. This is from an idea, this is from a thought
Right.
process, must be from experience. So let us know, how did this happen?
Yeah, well, Simon, when I discovered the world of personal development, it was right out of college. So this was several decades ago. I remember thinking to myself, why didn't I learn this when I was a kid? It made no sense to me that the personal development world and now the life coaching world focuses on grown-ups when those core thoughts and beliefs that shape who we are and what we think is possible for our lives are formed when we're really young. So, when I discovered this was kind of what planted the seed. And then many years after that, when I had my own children, I wanted to teach them these mindset skills, but I couldn't find anything out there to help them develop these skills. Now, keep in mind, this was 20 years ago. There's things on how to get my kids to behave, a few things on character development, but nothing on mindset development. And that's when I started writing stories. My kids were probably 4 or 5 when I first started writing my first stories, and real simple things. But from there, I kind of this vision just grew. I wanted to teach this to my own children, but I had this vision to bring it to more children as well. And at the time, I had a very successful corporate career. I was vice president of marketing for a company here in Austin, and um, I loved what I did, but I just had this pull to do more work in the world, and I just decided to go for it. And I retired from my corporate job, fortunate enough to take a year off to write the curriculum, and launched Adventures in Wisdom. And that was back in 2011 that we launched, and we launched the coach certification program in 2013. And we've just been out there bringing this work to children ever since. And I'm just so honored that so many coaches really trust us to help them do their work in the world, because they're getting amazing results with kids.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think that it's so important that as parents we'll just have the idea of like how we want to raise our kids and what we want, what types of skills we want to develop with them or instill within them, because we obviously have to walk the walk when it comes to how we expect our children to not necessarily behave, but how they want to
Mhm.
like be in their lives, like what's their kind of what's their state of being, I
Right.
suppose. Like I've thought about this for a long time, even before I had kids. Like
Yeah.
you obviously want your kids to be happy and kind and all these things, but I think it's really clear to understand like how you really want them to be, and you can obviously help with that development. Ultimately kids are going to kind of turn out who they're supposed to be, I think, like in their own unique, authentic way, but
Mhm.
leading that with like compassion and love and being empathetic and being confident is obviously huge. But I wonder, like in like a school setting, I don't have any experience. I mean, I was a preschool teacher for many years in Sweden, and it wasn't really part of the curriculum, I suppose, in regards to like mindset and like personality and these types of key traits that we would hold to be quite important as adults, but we might not necessarily know how to like breed them or develop them as kids. Do you what do you think in regards to your experience of the schools teaching and coaching kids with mindset? Like obviously you've created this program, so there has to have been a gap in the educational market for this. So what's your opinion in regards to like how schools approach what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, I absolutely think it's the huge missing link in children's education. I mean, if you think about it, our kids spend thousands of hours learning their ABCs, their one, two, threes, but they're not learning that one thing that has the greatest impact on their lives, and that's how to develop their mindset. Our mindset shapes everything from our confidence to how we experience the world to what we believe is possible for ourselves. And it supports us in how we perform academically, in extracurriculars, in our relationships at home, in our relationships with family, friends, and romantic later when you get older. And it's so powerful for children when and empowering for children when they learn that they can choose how they experience the events in their lives. Now, of course, this doesn't just happen overnight. It's not just a one training. It's one of the reasons why a coaching model is so critical, is really supporting children and develop these types of skills. Now, the good news is in the United States, we've seen more schools adopt social emotional learning programs and curriculum. So they're starting down that path. Growth mindset is a very common term in the education space, but it's such a minimum part of what's happening academically. And there's so much more that needs to be done. But with the pressures that teachers and educators have, it's across the world. We talk to educators from around the world to focus on the academics and the test scores, and getting the performance that they need academically, that little time is available for this type of work. And quite frankly, Simon, a lot of teachers are not trained in this type of thinking themselves. And so it's one of the reasons why coaching is so powerful. And we have a lot of our coaches who are educators, who are school counselors, especially since the pandemic. A lot of them are looking for ways to continue supporting children but want to leave the classroom. And life coaching for kids give them a very powerful way to continue helping children. But yeah, I'm seeing movement there, but there's such a long way to go. It is definitely a missing link in education, and is a huge missing link in our children's mental health as well.
Yeah, I think just thinking back to my own experience at school, like I did not like school. I loved the hanging out with my friends for long periods of the time of the day and going out and playing
Right.
football with my friends at lunchtime and stuff like that. Other than that, I had no interest in any of the subjects whatsoever, honestly. And and I think mindset, without question, would have come into that because I don't think I didn't go to school or go into a class or engage with a teacher or a piece of history or a piece of math with any particular mindset. It's literally just like I'm being like told this information, and because there's no like fundamental structure around how I'm going to take that information in and what I'm going to do with it, it's literally in one ear and out the other for me. But now, like, I'm absolutely fascinated with like ancient Egypt at the moment, and I'm interested in
Yeah.
astrology. I'm
Hmm.
interested in the stars and symbolism and how this is like structured a whole world. I'm super fascinated with that because I believe personally, cultivated my mindset to be skeptical, to ask questions, and to be curious, and to be open minded, to be very open to being wrong. And I didn't learn that until I was 34,
Hmm.
35, really.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why we can't teach that to our kids, especially to like question things and to um, there are more than one answer to a particular question. Usually, like, I think back to the mathematical textbooks I used to get at my school, and the answers would all be in the back, and there'd be one answer for every question or every equation. And just right thinking about that now, and there's multiple ways to answer things, whether that is mathematical or whatever that might be. uh, it's just interesting that we don't have that structure in, like, the kind of the industrial model of school and education. And it's obviously going to take a lot of time to help um, educate the teachers and create, kind of like what you're doing with wisdom coaching within the teacher curriculum setting. That's going to take a while to get into the universities and the curriculum, to get into the classroom eventually. I really, really, truly hope it does, because
Oh yeah.
as you say, like, as a parent or as a teacher or as a mentor or as a coach, and you are working with young children, if you don't have the mindset of having a mindset, you're not going to be
Right.
able to instill or educate or breed confidence within, trying to teach kids how to have a mindset around kind of anything. And you spoke about um like focusing on like maybe math or history in school. That's only really going to engage like one part of your brain when it's obviously wildly complicated. And if you're looking to create full brain development, it makes sense that you would have a mindset as your like fundamental basis for engaging in those different types of, brain communication that you might have with information or with people, or whatever that might be. So I'm absolutely loving the wisdom coaching. It sounds absolutely awesome. I'd love to know like um what a typical coach, how they work with a child. Do they work with the child and the parent? Is it one on one? Are they typically maybe like homeschooled, have alternative education, or is it like an extracurricular apart from school? Like, what's the common way that works?
Yes, a lot of questions in there. So let me
Sorry.
kind of
Yeah.
paint the picture. No, that's great. That's great. So our wisdom coaches work with children in multiple ways, but the kind of the fundamental between all of them is that they're working live with the child. Live could be in person, could be online. Before COVID, most of our coaches were working in person. What they discovered after or during COVID is that when they work online, they can reach children around the world and very effectively. But, coaching kids is very different than coaching adults in that a child's brain development a child's brain hasn't been fully developed. So if you are familiar with the coaching models that are used with adults, it really heavily relies on questions to guide the coaching process. Well, that requires full frontal lobe development, critical reasoning skills, and even greater life experience from which to draw upon to really be able to use this fundamental, just this questions model of coaching to work. Kids don't have full frontal lobe development. They don't have those critical reasoning skills developed. And it's one of the reasons why we use coaching stories as our foundation for bringing life coaching to kids. Because what the stories do is they help lay this foundation of knowledge so that children can see how these mindset skills are being used in certain situations that characters are facing. And then the coaches use child friendly discussion questions to help the child relate what's happening in the story and the characters and the mindset skills to their own lives. And then we have another step in our process that it has like activities, a lot of my art projects to really help them integrate these skills. We call it the story coaching process. So there's 5 steps in this coaching process, and it's very, very effective way to work with children. But our coaches work, like I said, online or in person live, but they'll work most of them one-on-one, some in small groups, some will do workshops that are more training or information based. But when it comes to true coaching, that really needs to be done more one-on-one or in the smaller groups as well. And most of them, it's outside of school. Some of our coaches do after school programs, but the vast majority it's outside of school.
And what's the age group generally?
So our focus, we really focus on ages 6 through 12. We want to reach kids while they're young. In elementary school, when they're first having some of these challenges of maybe getting a bad grade or being left out or not making the sports team or not performing well at a band concert, or there's kind of these disappointments in life, right? And helping them learn how to navigate these ups and downs of growing up while proactively also building their confidence and their self-esteem and learning how to set and achieve their goals. And then they can use these skills throughout high school and beyond. But one thing that really surprised me, Simon, about our work is how many of our coaches use our work with teams. And the fascinating thing is we all love stories, because stories, there's actually brain science behind why stories are so effective in the coaching process. And it's because it engages multiple areas of the brain and creates an experience. And because we have an experience, we learn we learn the stories and we learn the skills from the stories at a much deeper level. And that enables the children and even us grown-ups to remember how to tie back to the story. So, I mean, just to give you an example of that, a core concept in all of coaching is shifting our thinking. So if you think about it, events are neutral. No matter what happens in the world, it's neutral depending on how, and we as humans, we define what that event means based on how we think about it. If we think about it positively, we have a positive experience of the event, negative experience. So an example for a child is failing a test, right? So that's a neutral event, failed a test. So a positive way of looking at, or a negative way of looking at that is like, oh, failed the test, I'm a failure. Shifting your thinking to looking at it from a more positive perspective would be something like, wow, I failed the test. I better study harder next time. Or maybe I didn't study the right thing, or maybe I can ask the teacher for extra credit. This puts the child back in control of the situation, feeling more empowered about the situation, and being able to move forward with as a problem to solve and not as a judgment about themselves. So as part of our story, the way we teach children about shifting their thinking, we call it wearing your power goggles. So, we actually have an art project where they make their power goggles. And as part of practicing this skill, we will give them different scenarios. And first, they'll put on their victim goggles and they'll look at the situation and assign kind of negative meanings to it. And then we'll say, what would this look like if you're wearing your power goggles? Then they look at the situation from a more empowered point of view. And this is such a powerful way to work with children. Say, what would this look like if you're wearing your power goggles? It's a great coaching question for kids, high schoolers, even us grown-ups. I tell myself all the time, Renee, put on your power goggles and move forward in this situation. So that's just an example of how we use kind of coaching stories and our terminology to support children in developing these skills.
I mean, it makes total sense. I mean, I've got a 1 and a 3-year-old that we're talking about kind of before we went on here, and they're both addicted to listening to stories. And it's beautiful and wonderful. And I'm quite creative, and I've got kind of a weird mind, I suppose. But I love making up stories. Like I usually ask them what they want in their stories and make something absurd up, which is a lot of fun for everybody, right? And there's obviously a lot of benefits to actually literally reading books and with images and stuff. But I think that just making something up and engaging with the kids that way, I can see that their mind and their brain and their engagement is very different to I don't know, if they're just watching a TV show or something. It's completely different. Like they're actually engaged, they're there, they're present, they're conscious. And I mean, stories are an ingrained part of our, biological evolution, our identity as human beings, whether that was through drawing or music or dance, telling stories, especially from like, the stars and, the mythical things that we've made up through the
Yeah.
generations, is clearly like our brain and our neurochemistry has evolved to listen to stories, to engage different parts of our brain in quite wonderful ways. And it makes complete sense that you would engage with children, with this coaching method in a different way than you with adults. I've not thought about it before until you said it, so that's really, really cool. Yeah, and sorry, yeah, just before you jump in, that I love the different lenses idea, because I'm sure that not only does that give children a different perspective to look at things and take a step back, but I wonder like how that works with like emotional regulation, because like even as like an adult, I will see I will see the same thing, and whether I'm maybe angry or upset, or I've got rage, or I'm calm and feel awesome, I've literally got different lenses on, different glasses on, looking at that situation, and I'm going to see those things differently. It's going to change my chemistry in a different ways, and the way I think and the way I feel, and how I actually like create kind of core neurological beliefs. If I'm a constantly angry person, I'm going to have like a lot of angry beliefs about the world. So that's a beautiful way of engaging them. And obviously kids love to play and that type of that thing. It's really cool. How does the emotional regulation come into that particular, like the lens thing you're talking about?
Love that. So because our thoughts create our feelings, right? But we're feeling people. I mean, that are feeling beings. And so what we teach children is we teach them to look for the grungies. So the grungies are whenever you're feeling off like that. Maybe you're feeling angry or frustrated or embarrassed or just off. And whenever they experience the grungies is a time to think, okay, what are the thoughts? What thoughts am I having? We call it looking for the dragons. And grungies and dragons are terms that we use in all of our stories to support children and identify the emotional side of it and then the thought side of it. And it gives them a non-threatening way to talk about their feelings and their thoughts, because most kids don't like to talk about being afraid or being embarrassed, but they do love talking about grungies and dragons. So that's the first thing, is really noticing it and then noticing the thoughts. And of course, for most children, especially younger children, if having a trusted grown up to talk to about that can help them shift their thinking. When children are really young and just getting started with coaching, it can take a little bit more time for them to recognize, because when you're emotional in that emotional state, it's important for us to calm down first in order for us to get back into our frontal lobes, right? And so one of the things that we always teach is you'll put your hand on your heart and take 5 deep breaths, because this will engage the parasympathetic nervous system, which will help calm down the body, slow down the body, and get us from our amygdala part of our brain back into our frontal lobes, so that we can relax, calm down a little bit, and then use our mindset skills to address that situation. Believe me, I get triggered too, and it's just a matter of catching it and shifting. And we're just human beings. All of us are going to be triggered at different levels. It's a matter of practicing.
Yeah, it sounds like a brilliant adaptation of maybe like CBT, with that retrospective look of like our behaviors and the feelings that have like created are going to lead to those, and then the thoughts that lead to the
Yeah.
feelings. Like it
Hmm.
sounds just beautiful, and it sounds just like cultivated and created perfectly for, for young children who obviously have completely different brains to us, and to expect children to use the same type of coaching or therapy that an adult human brain would. It just makes that makes no sense. So
Yeah.
I'm so amazing that you're out there and you've got this philosophy, and you've obviously worked at it so well, and you've seen that it works. I mean, I've got a lot of homeschooling parents in my like circle. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just do, and it sounds like that this would be an amazing program to help, those parents who might not have actual teaching experience. And there's obviously
Yes.
amazing tools online in regards to what to actually teach kids, but how to do it, and how to teach them to obviously have this mindset around this new environment of learning and this new type of information, and the new way that parents may be doing it. It sounds like you've had like kind of homeschoolers engage this practice as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And to bring it to their like co-ops or homeschooling co-ops in order to start teaching the mindset work. Our coaches tend to come from the backgrounds of education, counseling, therapy, life coaching, and then parents, grandparents, volunteers, or people already working with children who love personal development and practice personal development themselves. And so absolutely, when I first created this program, Simon, I designed it as a home study program for parents to use with their own children. So it's developed to guide the child step by step through developing these skills. We have a mentor's guide that's got the background information and coaching tips for the coach, and then we have the children's guide where you have the coaching stories, the questions, activities for the engagement as well. And what the coach's job or even the parent's job is really to provide that emotionally safe space to support the child in learning these skills and applying it to their own lives, without judgment. That really is the most important thing. And for parents who don't want to be their child's coach, they can team up with one of our coaches. Our coaches aren't here to replace parents. They're part of the child's team and supporting that child in developing these skills. And one of the things that you had mentioned was, about the kind of the science behind this. And one of the things that was really important to me when I put this together was to teach children the brain science behind mindset skills and why they work. And so we go into what the conscious mind and subconscious mind are. We talk about neural pathways and how those are developed and why skills such as positive self-talk and affirmations and visualization are so important, because we're rewiring the brain to view our world in a certain way. And other things too. We talk about the science of achievement. We don't say, okay, this is how to set and achieve goals. This is why we use this process to achieve our goals. So it really is designed to help them see that, hey, I can be successful at this too. And each 27 mindset skills, all taught through stories, really designed to bring it to a child's level so they can be successful with these skills.
Yeah, it blows my mind how we don't teach kids about our nervous system and our
Hmm.
biology, and that we have, a parasympathetic nervous system and a
Right,
sympathetic nervous system, how that's attached to our emotional state, how
right.
that's attached to our lack of maybe eating specific nutrients, or lack, maybe being dehydrated, how like
I
all
know.
these things encompass our, which nervous system is basically primarily engaged, and how, that would just, it just helps kids. It would help, I mean, it helps adults explain a
Right.
whole lot about what they're doing. But I've worked with hundreds of people with my nutrition practice in regards to,
Yeah.
helping adults create solid habitual change. And it blows my mind in regards to when I help educate them in regards to their nervous system and their biology and kind of how these things work, and how like the brain and the gut are so unbelievably interconnected. A lot of people don't actually believe me when I talk to them about like how their migraines or their skin rashes might be affected by their, what they're actually eating or what they're not eating.
Mhm.
So we're doing a huge disservice in regards to actually teaching kids vitally important information about their own bodies. Um, and yeah, we could talk about that for hours and
We
hours and
could,
hours.
we
But
could. And
yeah,
Simon, I think part of the problem is so many grown-ups aren't aware of this either.
yeah,
I mean, I've always known about like nutrition and how important it is to our bodies, but I wasn't aware of all of the things about gut health until my daughter, when she was 14, developed an autoimmune disorder. And it took 5 different doctors in and out until we finally worked with a integrative medicine specialist, and we determined that it was an autoimmune disorder. But I mean, we're testing for all kinds of things because I wasn't even aware of what that was all about. So suddenly my mind expanded, and I started learning about that as well. So I think that's a big part of the problem, is so many grown-ups don't, and the parents out there, they don't know about mindset. They don't know
hmm
about what you're teaching. And until we can really start developing this base of knowledge across our children who are growing up to then teach it to their children, it's going to take a little while for us to shift this. But at least we have a big team of coaches out there that are working on solving the problem. And services like your podcast helping spread and educate parents and people around the world is just, that's how we make a difference and start that ripple effect.
yeah, you're totally right in regards to so many adults are just completely unaware of, their biology, um, what they do and what they don't do, how that affects it. I mean, we have people in government, we have people in charge of health services, which is, in Canada, like Health Canada. has a responsibility of taking care of the health. Well, if you believe that to be their goal, but anyway, like 330 million people, they have to take care of their health. And I look at the people in charge of that, and they don't look like healthy individuals. They don't know what they're doing, how that affects their bodies. So there is, like, even from the top, there is this miseducation, misunderstanding of how that works. And I wish, like, maybe one day we would have, like, holistic naturopaths or doctors or whatever in those circles, so they can actually, like, help filter that information down and completely change a paradigm. But um I've got a question in regards to this lack of mindset development that we clearly have within our
Yeah.
education system and within the home. How do you think that affects us as adults if we kind of miss out on that development?
Well, I think it's one of the reasons why we see so many people who are frustrated, who have like anger issues, who don't feel very empowered in their lives. I mean, it just the beauty about personal development work and mindset work is it really supports all of us in realizing that we have a choice into how we experience our lives, how we experience the situations and circumstances in our lives, that we can choose whether we're going to let those stop us from going for our goals or rise up and meet and exceed what's going on in order to achieve our goals. Um, our mindset shapes everything from our confidence, self-esteem, like I said, what we achieve, our relationships. I mean, it just, I, d- I mean, there's so many people out there doing great work, getting this work out to grown-ups, but we're still missing it with our kids. And there's so much more that still needs to be done.
Yeah, I think if you're not conscious about your mindset about
Yeah.
anything, you're going to struggle to thrive in any area of your life,
Mhm.
relationships, work, your spiritual side of your life. You're going to seriously struggle, because I feel that the mindset is the foundation to either catapult you into do amazing things, or to, like, keep you chained to your old habitual past where you don't have a mindset and you're just kind of like just going through life.
Mhm.
And yeah, this I'm just so glad we're having this conversation, because this is just like
Yeah.
this is blowing my mind and I love it. Um, I wanted to ask you about um like the individuality of the coaching. So, like, I hire a wisdom coach to work with my 6-year-old son. Um, is that, like, process individualized, or is it like a kind of set curriculum that you go through? I think you mentioned, was it 27, like, mindset skills?
Exactly.
Um, is that individual to the person? Does my child fill out a form? Does the parent fill out a form to give to the coach to then, like, create their program? How does that work?
Yeah, so what most of our coaches will do is they'll use an intake form. We have two different forms. One is designed for the parents, one is designed for the child. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Wheel of Life in coaching. We have one that's designed for children, and it's designed to help them really think about different areas of their lives and how they feel about it and what they would like to have different. And then, of course, the same thing with the parents. And from this process and through conversations, the coaches will design a program for the child. We do have we have what we call coaching package templates for our coaches that are around certain transformations, such as building strong self-confidence, building soaring self-esteem, developing resilience, dealing with peer pressure. So different categories. So our coaches can start with that type of package, or they can mix and match and swap out and, in and out skill books depending on what the situation is and what the parent and what the child wants to address as well. So it depends on what the parent's looking for. Sometimes parents will come to us and there's a specific situation that they're wanting to address, right away. And the child may be wanting to address. So, for example, maybe the child is really shy. And so they sit on the sidelines at the playground. They don't raise their hand in class. They don't want to go to summer camp because they're afraid. And so they're wanting to build up confidence and break through this shyness, in which case that's going to be one map on the curriculum. Another parent might come to us because the child wants to make the all-star team and the soccer or the baseball team, say. And so that's having a goal, and it's setting and achieving goals and develop your mindset around your self-talk and your affirmations and your visualization, and really how do you manifest these goals and dreams that you have. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And all, of course, at the foundation of all of this is the brain science behind and the why the around why these mindset skills work, because that really lays this foundation in which all the skills build upon.
Apart from being aware of like mindset and how important that is as
Yeah.
parents, do you think there are any other specific skills um, that we maybe lack and that we could develop ourselves to kind of help this process? Because obviously, a child working with a coach, the parents are involved, right? They have to be.
Yes.
It has to be. You can work with a coach an hour every day. That's fine, but then there's 23 other hours in the day where
Yeah.
that child's at home engaging with the parents. So everyone needs to be kind of like on board with the adoption of this this curriculum and this education pattern. So what other skills are helpful for parents to adopt or develop to help the child with their goals?
Yeah. So love talking about this because and most of our coaches do involve the parents. In fact, for each one of the skills that we teach, we have a wisdom for home take home sheet that enables them to continue the conversation at home. Some of our coaches will have one-on-one conversations with the parents in between sessions just to be able to kind of keep things going. But for parents, it really is about developing ourselves. What we find is that for those coaches who hire our or those parents who hire our coaches for like one-on-one small group coaching, they're into personal development work already. So most of them are doing their own work and their own growth. And it does help to have that at home. And the coaching program helps give a common language that they can use at home. Example is Grungies and Dragons, right? Um, so I think that that's really, really important. Sometimes our coaches are reaching children more in a workshop environment or maybe an after school program, and maybe the parents won't be as involved, but at least they're starting to sprinkle the seeds of this knowledge around mindset skills and how they can support them in their lives.
How is the idea? I mean, is wisdom coach like if I do the program and I get the
Yeah.
like accreditation, that's what it's wisdom coach, right? How
It,
has that been received by the community, I suppose?
well, we've got coaches in over 30 countries who've been using this work for over 10 years. So it's, across all different, it's a secular program. So it's across all different cultures, backgrounds, etc. Now we have some coaches who they niche in, say, their religious beliefs. So we may have someone who takes our program and brings scripture in and have more of a Christian based or
Nice.
other religions as well. So there is flexibility there for our coaches to bring who they are into their coaching with children.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously hear like there's diet coach, health coach, life coach,
Right.
wisdom coach. Just blows my mind. Like, that sounds super, super cool. I want to know about that. Like,
Well, thank you.
I want more wisdom in my life. So, I think that's a beautiful term that you guys have put together there.
Well, thank you.
Um, what are some of the key things that reduce a child's chance of obtaining their own self-esteem, their own confidence, and their resilience that we kind of have now within our culture?
What is that? Can you rephrase the question? You said, what are this?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So like there are obviously some things that hold a lot of kids back
Okay.
from
Got it. Got it. Got
developing.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Number one, I think self talk. I think self talk is absolutely critical because it shapes how we view ourselves, how we view the circumstances in our lives, because what we're telling ourselves about what's going on, and even what we achieve and create in our lives. And in fact, it's on our website, we give away a free story on how to develop positive self talk because self talk, it's we can choose every moment of every day we're saying something to ourselves, right? Either through our thoughts or through our words. And these thoughts and words are either building us up or they're tearing us down. So it's really critical that children learn how to identify and shift negative self-talk. So we teach them that skill, and then how to proactively build positive self-talk. We teach them that as well, all through a coaching story and activities as well. And the reason why positive self-talk is so important and that we want to teach children how to practice this multiple times on a daily basis is because we want them to build the strong neural pathways in their mind about themselves that's empowering and that's positive as well. So positive self-talk, that I mean, you get that in place and that's going to help them build that strong self-confidence, self-esteem to be more resilient when they're facing those ups and downs of life and to go out and achieve their goals as well.
I've had this big question in my mind for about a week now in regards to, because I've worked with so many people in regards to primarily the typical client for me would be like a middle-aged man that wants to lose weight and feel better and have and be more active because the habits that they exhibited in their 20s and most of their 30s are not serving them anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
classic case, right? But unless they've had a, a disease, a pathology that's been diagnosed, or a death in the family, or a loved one that something's really like something big has happened to them, there isn't the motivation required to actually make the changes that's going to create a new person and change their lives. And I've had actually the last two podcasts, I've had this conversation and idea bounce with my guests in regards to like what can we do to help people not suffer for so many years until that massive thing happens and then they start to literally change their minds and start thinking differently. I think what you're doing here is revolutionary in regards to helping kids change their mindset, and it's also going to help those parents do the same thing as well, because inevitably if a parent is no um in a place where they want to spend like their money, their time and their energy and put their child through this coaching program, they're clearly invested in the idea, and that's just wonderful and fantastic. And I think that is seriously going to help generations and generations of kids be healthier without question, and be able to recognize when things that they are doing, conscious or unconscious, are just not serving them. They're going to be able to catch those things quicker, and they're going to be able to think their way out of doing it and not have to go through years, decades of being unnecessarily in pain, be that psychological with something like depression, or physically. They're going to be able to reverse and change their lives themselves and do it with their own inner strength and their own inner confidence. And I think that's just a powerful place to be in as a young person. Like it's your potential is absolutely like it's unlimited when you've got a strong mindset behind the majority of things that you do.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay. Well, on that note, Renaye, can
Uh-huh.
you let us know how people can connect with you, can learn more about your incredible programs? I've got about 8 people in my mind right now that as soon as I finish this podcast, I'm sending them your website. So where can people go?
Fantastic. Well, that's the best place to start, adventuresinwisdom.com. If someone is interested in being a coach, we have a tab there that says be a coach. If you want to get a free coaching story, there's a tab there that says free story. And if you're a parent and you're interested in maybe working with one of our coaches, there's a tab there that says for parents. And we have a form on our website called Connect with a Coach. A parent can just fill out what the situation is, what they're looking for coaching around, and then submit that form. And our coaches that have availability can connect with that parent and see if there's a fit between them.
Does each coach create their own prices? Is this quite an affordable coaching program?
All of our coaches have their own business, and so yes, they
Yeah.
create their own pricing and packages, and of course they use our curriculum as part of that. But some of our coaches, Simon, they bring other skill sets into what they're doing. We have some coaches that bring equine therapy into what they're doing. Some are yoga and relaxation meditation experts as well, and they'll bring that into their coaching. So we have coaches that are doing all kinds of creative things.
Super cool. I love
Yeah.
that. Thank you. Well, Renaye, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I learned so much. I'm super jacked up for all of this. And when my kids get to a certain age, I'm without question going to be engaging. It gives me a lot of time to actually do your program myself, and I can put myself in the mindset of supporting mindset. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Simon. Adventure well.
Thank you very much. Well, that is it for this episode of True Hope Cast, the official podcast of True Hope Canada. I'll put all the information in regards to connecting with Renaye in the show notes. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. You can also leave us a review on iTunes if you feel obliged to. But that is it for this week. We'll see you soon.